NAMI Georgia is excited to celebrate first responders who have used their crisis intervention skills to help someone with a mental health crisis. The First Responder Awards, Celebrating Strength and Empowering Hope series, is excited to highlight these individuals and those they have served across the state of Georgia. Their stories illustrate best practice techniques for other responders who meet similar situations in their everyday work. Join us as we celebrate first responders who build and empower their communities.
I am so proud to be able to nominate and honor Officer Thomasson, lovingly known as Chick, in our community. She is an amazing force to be reckoned with. She is the pure definition of service above self as the lead co-responder. She goes above and beyond and truly leads the force on our team. And she is such a bright light, and we are so thankful that she is ours. We are so proud of the work and leadership that she has shown for Carroll County.
My name is Chiquita Thomasson. Everybody calls me Chick, though. That's just my nickname that I've adopted. I'm the lead responder on the Carroll County Crisis Response Team. I serve as a police officer and a paramedic on the unit. Crisis intervention team training is important for first responders because it allows for the individual to get the help that they need. By first responders recognizing the mental health issues or them being able to handle it appropriately by not using force, not making arrests. It just helps the individual get the help. If I could spend 40 hours learning how to fire a handgun, definitely makes sense to learn a 40-hour class on how to de-escalate by just talking, From what I see and hear, a lot of the use of force calls involve people with mental illness, because, they are perceived as a threat to law enforcement. And, they end up either, like I said, I think our chief likes to say that the way we deal with mental illness is we either arrest them or we use force. And there are so many different alternatives, but it's, from lack of training or being able to recognize what it is. So the Carroll County Crisis Response Team is one of those new co-responder units. It's where there's a law enforcement officer paired up with a licensed professional counselor. When law enforcement gets dispatched to a 911 call and that individual is suffering from some sort of mental health crisis, or it could be some substance addiction issues, usually the law enforcement officers are quick to recognize that it's a mental health issue. So we're able to respond. The counselor that I work with, the time that we get dispatched to the time that person is being admitted into a crisis stabilization unit in 45 minutes. So our unit, we respond at the request of 911. But there's so many times where a person will call 911 and ask specifically, can you just send the crisis team? A lot of times, there'll be a 911 call and they'll say, is Chick working today? Or they'll call me instead of calling 911. And, a lot of times I have to divert and say, okay, that's a crisis. You need to call 911 and then we'll be there. But yeah, they call me personally a lot. And I think that speaks for itself. The first responder community plays a very pertinent and important part of reducing the stigma associated with mental health and substance misuse. As law enforcement and as emergency response, we see victims, we see clients, we see patients, we see complainants, and we don't take the time to see a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter. And so if we can get past the initial presentation and realize that's just a person. I always like to say that, we're all susceptible to some sort of mental illness, and we're one bad decision away from addiction. Mental health is a brain disorder. Nobody's ashamed of being a diabetic because your pancreas is not producing the fluids that it should. Same thing with the cardiac enzymes. If you have a heart issue, we don't treat anybody differently for that. So it should be the same with mental illness.
NAMI Georgia's mission is to empower affiliates to create communities where all affected by mental illness find hope, help, and acceptance through support, education, and advocacy. To learn more about crisis intervention, volunteer opportunities, or get more information about mental health and our affiliates, please connect with us. NAMI Georgia would like to thank our partners, especially the John and Polly Sparks Foundation.